our oil from the very people that are sworn to our destruction. You know, when I was thinking, I don't think it's any accident that we're doing this little meeting here on 9/11. And I bet most of you know where you were and what circumstances in your life were going on when you first learned about what they did, what Muslim terrorists did to us on 9/11. But I remember where I was. And, you know, I like the idea. I like the idea a lot. That we as a nation, that we maybe right here in Franklin Township, maybe we can be the catalyst for that, and that is to, in a real way, provide some of the materials for us to become energy independent. I don't know if you guys know this, but and it isn't widely publicized, but because of fracking, we are now a natural gas exporting nation. We have enormous amounts of natural gas now. And I bet you've seen that reflected on your natural gas bills. I know I have, and it's true. It is a marvelous example of supply and demand. And it's a marvelous example of what can happen when you use technology like fracking and discover these very deep wells and enormous amounts of natural gas and oil. And so we're glad to be playing a part in that. I think that is important to us. So we're in this because we can provide for our families. We're in this because we can, in real ways, contribute to becoming a nation that is not dependent on foreign oil and gas. And we're also in it because it gives us an opportunity to work the land, and you know, that is a marvelous privilege that we have as Americans, to take the land and work it. We have the freedom to do that, and so we're excited about that. We're pleased to do it. We're excited about playing a real role in providing for the gas and energy industries. And we're also excited about it because we have the opportunity to truly add jobs. You know, we can talk about jobs, and politicians just talk about jobs. We're not politicians, and we're not just talking about it. What we have planned and what we want to do truly, in real ways, provides jobs, and local jobs, and good paying jobs. And I think that's what's exciting about being an entrepreneur. I think that's why, and many of you are entrepreneurial as well. It's maybe the most selfless thing we can do, and that's to start a business and truly provide jobs and opportunity for the people around us, and provide for our families. So that's our introduction, and I guess I'll let Greg go ahead. And now, one of the things we want to do before we go any further, we're going to hand out cards and pencils. And one of the things we'd like to do is, if you have a question or a comment, would you write it down? And if you think it's really important, put a star on it. When we're done with this, at the end of our presentation here, we want to take some of those questions and we want to answer them. We may answer them throughout the process, but if not, we want to take your questions and answer them. We'd sure appreciate that.
All right, I guess it's my turn to say a few things.
Maybe I'll take your place here.
Sure.
Why don't I hand those out?
Okay. I'm going to go slow with just me. Doug, you want to help on too? Thanks.
I need a pencil.
Yeah.
All right, you just pass these around. You got some already?
Well, some of the highlights that we have for tonight, as John was saying, John and Doug and I are all we're all from Wisconsin, we're local people. Probably the furthest away, but for the longest time I lived in the La Crosse area. And I just live north of the Madison area now, and John and Doug both in the La Crosse area. We're local hunters too. We love this land, just like you guys do. And what we'd like to present to you tonight is our way of doing two things. One, extracting the natural resources that are needed for the oil and gas industry. And two, do it in such a way that leaves the land better than how it started in the first place. You say, well, how can that be possible? That can be a matter of opinion, but I'll tell you that when you just hear our plan out, we have, when the site is re-engineered, it improves it from a stormwater management standpoint, and perhaps even from a hunting standpoint and a conservation standpoint. It'll make some of the finest hunting ground in the whole county when we're all finished. One thing that I want to get clear with our site is that some of these frac sand companies, they're doing a full service operation. They sift the sand, they wash the sand, they dry the sand. We're not doing that. This is just what we're talking about doing on our property. Is just a standard, like a standard sand and gravel pit. It's a dig and extract and haul away operation. There will be no high capacity water well that invades into the aquifer of sorts. Checking with some statistics, there's this sand and gravel extraction pit operation has been a mainstay in Wisconsin for over 130 years. There's over 2,500 sand and gravel pits in the state of Wisconsin. So that's what we are proposing to do, a very standard, simple operation. And again, we'll introduce our consultants that we have from Summit Enviro Solutions. This is a very important aspect to us. Now, we believe we should be able to utilize the resources, but we also believe we want to create a real sensitive solution when it's all done. And so in working with Summit, we've come up with a plan that only 10 to 15 acres will be opened up at any one time on this property. There will never be a big moon crater on this site. We will never open up the entire site. We will not be taking the bluffs down. The bluffs will still remain. The tops of the bluffs will still be there. As soon as the 10 to 15 acres of the prime material that's being looked for in the industry is extracted from that particular location, immediately we reclaim that site. We replace the topsoil, we replace the vegetation immediately, and then move on to the next 10 to 15 acres and systematically work our way around the property in that respect. And so those are some of the highlights that we're going to allow our people to get into in just a moment. And there's probably a lot of different information out there about, we hear this term fracking, we hear oil fracking, we hear fracking sand. Well, I'll try to give you just a brief explanation of that. Fracking is the shorthand term for hydraulic fracturing. And I'll jump down to the bottom and say right now, there's no hydraulic fracking for oil in Wisconsin. Wisconsin does not have any oil reserves. So there's no oil drilling in Wisconsin. But hydraulic fracturing is a process of extracting the oil and the natural gas, or the natural gas, from deep within the earth, about 1 mile to 3 miles down. These drills go far down into the earth. And when they get that far down, there have been found massive reserves of natural gas and shale oil. And right now, whether we like it or not, the oil and natural gas industry is expanding to tap into those natural resources. This here is, I know it's hard to see, but this gives you an idea